Hello, my name is Michael Panamero, President of the Finance Institute and Senior Vice President of Pivot Financial. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me here. On behalf of all of us at the Finance Institute and Pivot Financial, welcome. Welcome to your gateway to the lucrative $136 billion factoring industry. Now, before I tell you a little bit about me and how I got here, I wanted to let you know that I think you're really going to enjoy this online session because the Finance Institute is for non-financial people. I believe that this may be the most important presentation that you have ever watched when it comes to leveraging your professional skills, experience, and business contacts to making a significant change in your financial future. Over the next 25 minutes or so, I am going to share some of the best content and valuable information that you're ever going to get about this lucrative multi-billion-dollar industry, an industry that is growing every year. And best of all, the tremendous amount of solid and pragmatic information you will gain from me during this online session, I am confident you will be able to use it to your advantage immediately after this session is over. So please take good notes, and if you have any questions, please write them down, and we will answer your questions after the session is over. So to tell you a little bit about me and how I got here, prior to joining the factoring industry back in 1999, I had established and sold 3 other companies. My most recent company was a small detergent manufacturing company. We manufactured concentrated dense blend laundry and dish powder detergents. We sold our detergents to industrial distributors, wholesalers. We manufactured private label for some retail chains, and we did some exporting as well. One day I got a crazy idea that I was going to bid on a government contract to supply all the federal penitentiaries their laundry and dish powder requirements. Now, in order to be competitive on that tender, I negotiated early payment supplier discounts with my suppliers under the stipulation we would pay them in 7 days after receiving the raw materials. Well, guess what? We won the contract, a huge feather in our cap, because the total value of the contract was almost half of the size of our current sales. So we went ahead, manufactured, and shipped the first order, and we were paid by the government in 60 days. When did I promise to pay my suppliers? 7 days. 7 days. There was just no way that I could wait 60 days on the next order because there was no profit left in the sale if I couldn't pay my suppliers in 7 days and receive the supplier discounts. So I approached the government procurement officer and explained the situation and asked them if they could pay for all their future orders a lot faster. Her answer, if you can't honor the payment terms of this contract, don't worry, there are other companies standing behind you that can. What was I to do? I didn't want to lose the government contract, but at this rate, there was no profit left in the transaction. So what does every business do? We went to the bank. But we were declined for bank financing because we were growing too quickly. So what else could we do? Well, my business partner and I decided we would try financing the company using our credit cards, and we almost lost everything, not to mention the high interest rates we had to pay on the cards. Until one day I discovered the concept of factoring, and it changed the way we did business forever. A real game changer, and we were able to keep and deliver on that government contract. At that time, I thought if this could help my business, it could help a lot of other businesses like my customers who are always paying me late. So I started to broker factoring relationships on the side. With my success, I discovered that I really enjoyed helping people, helping small business owners to quickly solve their cash flow problems versus working in a dusty environment manufacturing powder detergents. So I decided to sell my partnership to my business partner and become a full-time factoring broker. With my success in late 2000, I was approached by a company out of the United States to open up their Canadian operations. This led to creating the Finance Institute in 2008. The Finance Institute has grown into the premier alternative financing consultant training organization on this planet. The core mission of the Finance Institute is to make the daunting task of finding more cash flow easier for businesses across North America. We continue to deliver on this mission by teaching working business professionals and professionals that are in transition how to do what I did, creating the opportunity to make as much money as they want or as little money as they need without risking 1 red cent of their own capital. And here's what I learned over the past 19 years. Investing in yourself, investing the time to learn a new skill, creating an insurance plan, insulating yourself from what could go wrong in the future is the right thing to do because no one can ever take it away from you. It creates freedom. It creates options, a peace of mind. By the end of this session, you will discover this is about finding a couple to just a handful of transactions. And anyone with your skills and experience can do this business because you don't need any prior knowledge. You don't need any prior experience or special education to become successful. Just follow our blueprint and take action. So during this session, you're going to learn 3 things. 1, why now is the single best time in history to be taking part in this lucrative $136 billion industry. 2, you're going to learn how you can leverage your professional skills and business contacts to earn a substantial long-term residual income. And 3, you're going to learn how you can gain the knowledge and the confidence to find your first transaction immediately after this workshop is over. So just pick up any newspaper or read any online publication and you will discover article after article, post after post, comment after comment addressing the fact that banks are still not lending to businesses across the country. And what is more shocking is that business bank loan application decline rates are reaching epidemic proportions. Just check out this article published in the Business News Daily titled 6 Factors That Keep You from Getting a Small Business Loan. Topping the list, number 1, poor cash flow. A recent study by the Credit Research Foundation reveals even more shocking facts, that 82% of all businesses are reporting poor cash flow. The report goes on to read that 92% of new businesses will fail in their first year due to the lack of available working capital, and 100% of all businesses will struggle from slow or no cash flow during their existence. These companies cite the lack of available working capital, the tightening of cash flow, and the slowdown in customer payments as the 3 major issues that are having disastrous effects on the viability of their businesses. So what is factoring? Why is it important to a business? And why is it important to you? Companies large and small across this country every single day are delivering products or rendering services. In order to be competitive, they can't always insist their customers pay COD, cash on delivery. So in addition to providing the product or rendering the service, they issue an invoice. Now I'm sure you know what an invoice looks like, but let me bring your attention to an important section of this invoice indicated by this little green box right here called terms. Typical terms in business, typical terms issued by vendors to their customers for early payment of their invoice is 2% 10, net 30 days. What does that mean? Well, if a customer pays for their invoice within 10 days of receiving the invoice, the vendor will discount the invoice by 2%, or the customer will receive a 2% discount off the total value of the invoice. If the customer pays for their invoice after 10 days and before 30 days, the customer is required to pay for the invoice in full. By listing terms on the invoice qualifies the invoice as a legal document or a short-term note. So in addition to providing the product or rendering the service, the vendor issues an invoice, and now this invoice becomes an accounts receivable. And now they wait. What are they waiting for? Well, they're waiting to get paid. They're waiting to get paid 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and even longer. Did you know that the national average for customers to pay for their invoices across this country is a staggering 73 days? And did you know that it's estimated that small businesses across North America carry over $825 billion of invoices at any given time? And here's another fact. The average small business across North America invoices between $100,000 and $500,000 each and every month and now waits to get paid. While these companies are waiting to get paid, other orders are coming in. While these companies are waiting to get paid, they have to find ways to fill the new orders, to pay their employees, to pay their suppliers, to pay their rent, to pay for their utilities and their taxes. And this vicious cycle continues to happen every single day to small, medium, and large businesses around the country. So if the banks aren't lending and customers are always paying late, where does a business go to get the money that it needs on a daily basis to thrive? Small to mid-sized businesses that need the cash to thrive are turning to factoring companies to sell some or all of their accounts receivable to get the money that they need fast. Just take a look at these numbers. At a time when many industries have been floundering, the factoring industry has been experiencing explosive growth. And this continues every year, and what is exciting, all indicators continue to point to the fact that we can expect much of the same for the unforeseen future because this type of financing is recession-proof. When the economy is strong, companies will use factoring to fund the growth that they're experiencing because banks don't like when a business grows quickly. When the economy is weak, companies will use factoring to survive, to meet their fixed costs, their payroll, etc. So what is factoring? How does it work? And how can you fit in? The definition of factoring goes something like this. Factoring is the purchase of business to business or business to government accounts receivable which are current or outstanding invoices for goods or services that have been rendered in the past for a discount fee. Let me repeat that. Factoring is the purchase of business to business or business to government accounts receivable which are current or outstanding invoices for goods or services that have been rendered in the past for a discount fee. It's important to note that factoring is not a loan. There is no interest charged, and it's similar to a cash discount that a vendor would offer their customers for early payment. Remember the 2% 10 net 30-day payment terms that we just talked about. So how does it work? Well, there's two key disbursements associated with a factoring transaction. The first one is called an advance, and the second is called a reserve. The advance takes place when the client, the vendor, receives up to 95% of the face value or the total value of the invoice when the invoice is purchased by the factor, what we like to call as the funding source. The second key disbursement is called the reserve, and this is when the client, the vendor, receives the balance once the customer has paid for the invoice in full, less the discount fee, or what we like to call as the factor's fee. To illustrate how this simple concept works, I have prepared this example for you. Let's say, for the purposes of this example, the invoice was $100,000. And let's say the funding source, the factor, determined that the advance rate was going to be 90%. When you multiply 90% times $100,000, which is the total value of the invoice, the vendor or the client would receive $90,000 of that invoice. When you subtract $90,000 away from $100,000, you're left with $10,000 or 10% of the invoice. And the client, the vendor, would receive this 10% or $10,000 back once the customer has paid for the invoice in full, less the discount fee or the factor's fee that is charged. There are over 55 million small to mid-sized businesses across North America, but less than 10% utilize factoring because it is a fact. Most people and businesses have never heard about factoring before and the many benefits of using it in their business. So is the factoring industry saturated across North America? Well, on the contrary, did you know that in the UK, the United Kingdom, over 75% of all businesses factor. Across Europe, over 54% of all businesses factor, and these numbers are growing. Can you now see why today continues to represent the single best time in history to be working in this lucrative industry? Providing alternative working capital solutions to small and mid-sized businesses is becoming the hottest referral source professional consultant opportunity of this decade. And although you may have never heard about this concept before, Yahoo Hot Jobs recently voted factoring among their top hottest professions as reported by Joy Victory at Payscale.com. Now, to save us some time, I'm not going to read this entire article, but let me sum it up for you this way. There has never been a better time than right now to create another income stream than by brokering factoring relationships. In our industry, our practitioners are called business consultants or cash flow consultants. In our industry, we work as a team and we succeed as a team by following a simple blueprint that we call the fees principle or the fees process. And the statistics tell us that 3 in 5 people know of a business, and 1 in 5 people own their own business. You don't know who your contacts know or who they could lead you to. You could already be sitting on a gold mine. Just ask yourself this question. How many businesses do you know that provide a product or service to another business or the government? Now ask yourself, how many of those businesses do you think are getting paid in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and longer? The answer is all of them. So how does a business consultant or a cash flow consultant earn money? The Finance Institute offers a quick and simple way to earn a substantial residual income, and depending on the type of company you find, you can get paid a big chunk of the factors discount fees each month for up to 18 months, 36 months, 5 years, and even longer by following the fees principle. Now, in order to understand this simple process, it's important for me to explain to you how factors make money. Factors are not banks. Factors do not concern themselves with the financial strength or the financial wherewithal of the business or its business owners. A factor does not concern itself with how long the business has been in business. A factor makes their credit decisions based on 2 things. 1, the creditworthiness of the customer, so who is paying for the invoice, and how long it takes for the customer to pay for that invoice. So what is the fees principle? Well, the fees principle stands for find, expose, educate, and support. Your role as a business consultant or a cash flow consultant is simple. Learn how to find a company that has customers that are always paying late. Learn to expose them to the concept of factoring. Educate them about the many benefits of factoring, and then you simply ask them to complete a short client profile, and you send this client profile over to one of our file managers, and you get out of the way. Because we will do everything else for you, including structuring, closing, and funding the transaction. Now, after the service is set up, you can get paid a big chunk of the factor's discount fees. As a business consultant or a cash flow consultant, you can get paid 10% for the life of the factoring relationship. So what does this mean? It means working once and getting paid over and over again, planting a seed once and then farming it, harvesting it over and over again, creating long-term residual income that can pay you each month for up to 18 months, 36 months, 5 years, and even longer. So how much money can you earn? Well, quite frankly, the numbers will surprise you when I show them to you in a minute. I always remind our business consultants, our cash flow consultants, if you aim at nothing, you will hit it. If you aim at nothing, you will hit it. So before I reveal the real numbers, let's set your first goal, a measurable goal, a target, if you will. I want you to take a few seconds and write down your answer to this question. How much money would you need to earn per month to make a significant difference in your life right now? How much money would you need to earn per month to make a significant difference in your life right now. I'm going to pause for a quick drink of water, so please write your answer down. And when I return, I will show you just how close you really are to achieving your financial goal. I'll be back with you in 10 seconds. Okay, what I'd like to do now is share 2 short real-life case studies with you. I think this will help bring some reality to just how close you really are to achieving your financial goal. So let me introduce you to Synchromesh. Synchromesh is a small industrial fertilizer manufacturing company with monthly sales of $98,000. Synchromesh was recently awarded a large contract from a new industrial customer to supply a truckload of industrial fertilizer each month for the next 12 months. The total value of the purchase order each month, $88,500, almost double that of Synchromesh's current sales. Now, in order to be competitive to bid on the contract, Synchromesh negotiated early payment supplier discounts with their suppliers and received special pricing on the raw materials. The special pricing was awarded under the stipulation that Synchromesh paid their suppliers in 15 days. The industrial customer ended up paying for their first order in 60 days. When Synchromesh approached their customer to see if they could pay earlier for all future orders, the customer said they would prefer to pay in 60 days. The issue, Synchromesh must now be in a position to pay their suppliers in 15 days on all future orders, even though their new customer pays in 60 days. Doesn't that sound familiar? So what is Synchromesh to do now? Well, they're going to have to find another way to raise the cash to pay their suppliers early, or they're going to have to turn down the rest of this contract because there's no profit in the transaction if they can't receive the supplier discounts. And what's worse, they'll probably lose this customer altogether and any new orders that could come from this customer in the future. So Synchromesh went to the bank, but they were declined for financing due to 2 reasons. 1, the bank thought that they were growing too quickly, and 2, the company was only 2 years old and didn't have enough financial history to qualify for bank financing. This deal was referred to us by someone like you, a business consultant, a cash flow consultant, and the transaction we structured went on to look something like this. Total value of the purchase order each month from the new industrial customer, $88,500. We ended up advancing 85%. 85% times $88,500 was a total advance of $75,225, more than enough money to pay the suppliers. The factor in this case charged a fee of just 2.5% for every 30 days the invoice was outstanding, and the customer paid their invoices in how many days? 60 days. So 2.5% for the first 30 days plus 2.5% for the next 30 days equals 5%. 5% of what? 5% of the total invoice. 5% of the total invoice of $88,500 equals a factor's fee of $4,425. If you were the business consultant, the cash flow consultant that introduced this deal to us, how much would you receive? 10%. 10% times $4,425 equals a residual monthly income of $442.50 coming into your household each and every month. In this industry, we call these small deals. What could you do with an extra $442.50 coming into your household each month starting right now? Well, guess what happened in this deal? Synchromesh realized that every time they created an invoice, they could factor it and receive immediate working capital to run the rest of their business. So they went on to factor all of their receivables, their current sales of $98,000, plus this purchase order of $88,500 from their new customer, to factor a total of $186,500 each month. And guess what happened to the cash flow consultant's commission? It grew to be over $932 per month. Okay, let me introduce you to healthcare nurse staffing. Now, healthcare nurse staffing was also referred to us by a business consultant or a cash flow consultant. Now, healthcare nurse staffing is a temporary staffing agency that provides nurses and other healthcare providers to hospitals, labs, nursing homes, retirement homes, etc. Healthcare nurse staffing recently secured a contract to provide 50 nurses to a local hospital. The nurse staffing company would pay their nurses $24 per hour, and the nurses would work a 40-hour work week. The nurse staffing company would then turn around and invoice the hospital at $32 per hour for each 40-hour work week per nurse. The hospital pays their invoice in 60 days. The issue: the nurse staffing company must now be in a position to fund the nurse's payroll to perform on this contract. So the payroll looks something like this: $24 per hour, which is the hourly wage per nurse, times 50, the number of nurses, times 40, the hours per week for each nurse, times 8, the number of weeks for the hospital to pay, equals $384,000. Now the invoicing looks something like this: $32 per hour, which is the hourly wage per nurse invoiced to the hospital, times 50, the number of nurses, times 40, the hours per week for each nurse, times 8, the number of weeks for the hospital to pay, $512,000. Well, healthcare staffing didn't have this type of money, nor did she know where she was going to go to get this type of money to make her payroll. So she went to the bank. But she was declined because they didn't have any hard assets to pledge as security to obtain a loan. Just think about this for a second. What could they pledge as security? They rent the office space, and when you walk in the front door of the office, you would see a small reception area. You walk down the hall to the right, a small kitchen, a microwave, a small refrigerator. To the left, you see a few desks with computers, a phone system, and a few pictures on the wall. The only inventory they have is people, nurses. You can't pledge humans as security to the bank. So what was she to do now? Remembering that she was recently exposed to the concept of factoring by a business consultant or a cash flow consultant, she called that individual, and the transaction we structured went on to look something like this. Total value of the contract, of the invoice, $512,000. Factor ended up advancing 90% for a total of $460,800, more than enough money to pay the nurses' wages in the amount of $384,000. The factor in this case charged a fee of just 2% for every 30 days the invoice was outstanding, and the hospital paid their invoices in how many days? 60 days. So 2% for the first 30 days plus 2% for the next 40 days equals 4%. 4% times $512,000, which is the total value of the contract, the invoices, equals factoring fees of $20,480. If you were the business consultant, the cash flow consultant that introduced this deal to us, what would you receive? 10%. 10% times $20,480 equals residual monthly income of $2,048 each and every month. Imagine what it would feel like to have an extra $2,048 coming into your household right now. In this industry, we call these bigger size deals. Now, before you even ask, the average size deal that we see coming in is approximately $175,000 per month in receivables to be purchased. So how many deals are you going to need to find to reach your financial goal? I bet you it's not as many as you thought, huh? So let me ask you this question. With some more practical information, some training, and our unparalleled support to intercept, structure, place, and fund and manage all of your deals, do you think that you could find one company, just one company, that could benefit from factoring? Just one. If you said yes, here's what I want you to do. Let's schedule a call to answer any questions that you may have and discuss next steps. And best of all, you won't be risking 1 red cent of your own capital to learn how to do this. Now, to schedule that call, I want you to copy this link down: www.thetfi.com/Mike. www.thetfi.com/Mike. And when you arrive to this page, Just choose your time and click Submit. This concludes the presentation. I hope you enjoyed receiving the information as much as I did presenting it to you. Today represents the single best time in history to be working in this industry, and I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to join me here. Until I speak with you again, bye for now.